This is day 277, Nature's High Festival. This is day 6 of my wilderness sojourn. Inevitably, something will have gone wrong by now. We expected a hot and dry hike, but I imagine nature will have thrown something else at us. Who knows what it will be. I've experienced fire, wind, hail, freak snowstorms, a stampede of elk, and one really stubborn cow. I'm reminded of one of my favorite outdoor writers, John Muir. He had a way of describing things that made you want to experience it. Here's a passage from the mountains of California. One of the most beautiful and exhilarating storms I ever enjoyed in the Sierra occurred in December of 1874, when I happened to be exploring one of the tributary valleys of the Yuba River. The sky and the ground and the trees had been thoroughly rain-washed and were dry again. The day was intensely pure. One of those incomparable bits of California winter, warm and balmy and full of white sparkling sunshine, redolent of all the purest influences of the spring, and at the same time enlivened with one of the most bracing windstorms conceivable. Instead of camping out as I usually do, I then chanced to be stopping at the house of a friend. But when the storm began to sound, I lost no time in pushing out into the woods to enjoy it. For on such occasions, nature has always something rare to show us, and the danger to life and limb is hardly greater than one would experience crouching deprecatingly beneath a roof. It was still early morning when I found myself fairly adrift. Delicious sunshine came pouring over the hills, lighting the tops of the pines and setting free a steam of summery fragrance that contrasted strangely with the wild tones of the storm. The air was mottled with pine tassels and bright green plumes that went flashing past in the sunlight like birds pursued. But there was not the slightest dustiness, nothing less pure than leaves and ripe pollen and flecks of withered bracken and moss. I heard trees falling for hours at the rate of one every 2 or 3 minutes, some uprooted, partly on account of the loose water-soaked condition of the ground. Others broken straight across, where some weakness caused by fire had determined the spot. The gestures of the various trees made a delightful study. Young sugar pines, light and feathery as squirrel tails, were bowing almost to the ground, while the grand old patriarchs, whose massive boils had been tried in hundreds of storms, waved solemnly above them, their long, arching branches steaming fluently on the gale, and every needle thrilling and ringing and shutting off keen lances of lights like diamonds. The Douglas spruces, with long sprays drawn out in level tresses and needles massed in a gray shimmering glow, presented a most striking appearance as they stood in bold relief along the hilltops. The mandros in the dells, with their red bark and large glossy leaves tilted every way, reflected the sunshine in throbbing spangles like those one so often sees in the rippled surface of a glacier lake. But the silver pines were now the most impressively beautiful of all. Colossal spires, 200 feet in height, waved like supple goldenrods, chanting and bowing as low as if in worship, while the whole mass of their long, tremulous foliage was kindled into one continuous blaze of white sunfire. The force of the gale was such that the most steadfast monarch of them all rocked down to its roots with a motion plainly perceptible when one leaned against it. Nature was holding high festival, and every fiber of the most rigid giants thrilled with glad excitement.